Hey, it's Alex here from ChinaSpeakMethod.com. Ni hao. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about, from my experience, which I'd like to share with you, the top things to avoid in a Chinese language class should you decide to attend one. Okay? So I'll see you on the other side. Ni hao, it's Alex here. And in this episode, what are the few things that we want to avoid in a Chinese language class, or any language class for that matter? Now, I've been to many different classes for many different things as well as language, and I want to share these with you so hopefully that you don't make the same quote-unquote mistakes and maximize your learning journey as productively as possible. So what are those things? Let's go through them, okay? First thing you have to ask is whether the class, the course, actually has a guarantee or not. Yes, that's right. Whether they have a guarantee and say, look, we guarantee that you will learn X amount or be able to do X amount in however many classes. Okay? Now, from previous experience, most schools, they don't have that. So don't get too worried that you don't find that, okay? Because a lot of schools, they don't offer that for whatever reasons you may think of, right? So the next best thing is ask them for a trial where we can go into a class, into your level, obviously, and see what that class and what that teacher is like, okay? So you can get a feel for it, okay? And then you can make a decision from there. Now, when you do go for that trial class, and hopefully it's one that you'll be actually enrolling into, first look at the teacher, okay? Now, this obviously depends on your speaking ability, your learning ability, right? Whether you're a complete beginner or intermediate or advanced. Now, if you're a complete beginner or sort of beginner intermediate, and the teacher is speaking completely in Chinese and you don't understand a single word or just only bits and pieces, then not a very good tuning for the teacher according to your needs, yeah? Conversely, if you know how to speak decent Chinese already, you got some under your belt already, and they speak completely in English, also no good as well, because hey, you want to have much more input because you understand a lot of things already, yeah? So teacher is very, very important. And hopefully they're not a fly-by-nighter. And by what I mean by that is not like a con teacher, but there are a lot of Chinese teachers who may be professors or whatnot, right? And specialize in something else. But because, hey, they speak Chinese, so they can teach. Just like I can ski and I can teach someone to ski. Not. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, when you do go to your trial class, also see how big that class is. If it's a humongous lecture hall, another obviously to avoid, right? 20, I personally feel that's still pretty big, right? Ideally, 6 to 8 people. Will you get that? Maybe. Will you get that? Maybe not, okay? So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, you've got a teacher who's decent, okay? You can go see a trial class, even though there's no guarantee, possibly. And they speak according to your level. Excellent. And it's a small class. Beautiful. Now, with the students, are they of mixed abilities? Because if your classmates, one may be much better than you and the other may be a complete beginner, but the school decides to cram everybody together, that's not good for you. Because it's not good for the teacher. Because it's very difficult to tailor it to everybody's needs, right? They speak too much Chinese, too much advanced, you lose out. Speak too much beginner and cover too much beginner material, you lose out. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that the students in the class are essentially around the same level. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? Now, what other things are there? Now, with the classes, okay? Make sure that there's some personal Q&A time, okay? I'm not saying one-on-one for the complete session. That won't be feasible at all for the teacher. But at least you get to have enough time to ask the question and answer it, and most importantly, be able to interactively practice speaking. Because even though you have a textbook, I'm not going to pay $200 for a teacher to read the textbook to me, okay? That's my opinion, okay? Obviously, it's up to you. But I feel that better time is spent in the classroom with a native speaker to actually interactively speak and practice speaking, okay? In an environment, a controlled environment. So that's something to keep in mind depending on the teacher's style, yeah? Now that you do decide that you want to go to the class, right? if the teacher reads from a book, run for the hills. Really, run for the hills. Because like what I said before, you can just buy that book and learn it yourself or hire a tutor, which is another episode we'll talk about in more detail. Now, if the language class satisfies all these criteria, as in it doesn't have all these criteria or most of these criteria, then maybe it's a big tick for you to go attend, yeah? So when you do attend, I recommend two sessions, right, of the day, 2 times of the day to definitely avoid, okay? What's the first time to avoid? There's a learning lesson right after lunch. No, not good for you, mate. You'll probably be falling asleep. Doesn't matter how motivated you are after, a full lunch, and most people want a siesta, an afternoon nap. So that's one thing, okay? Try not to have that time right after lunch because you're gonna be, tired. Now, the second time to avoid is preferably don't do it right after work, before dinner, because not only are you tired, but you're hungry as well. So that's something definitely to avoid as well, okay? Those 2 session times, right after lunch or right after work before dinner, because we're stressed, tired, and hungry, not exactly the most conducive environment to learning Chinese or anything for that matter. Okay, so those are the things that I found from personal experience that one should avoid should you decide to attend a Chinese language class, a Mandarin class in person, right? Now, obviously, this may not cover things and you may disagree or you may agree with some of them. What other things do you think that you should avoid in a Mandarin language class? Please, there's a link down below to enter your comments, or you can go to ChinaSpeakMethod.com there. Alright? It'd be good to share your experience as well with others. 谢谢你, it's Alex here from ChinaSpeakMethod.com, and I'll see you in the next episode with some more tips and tricks. 再见.